No one is buying the VSL because it's pretty. People now are too afraid to do a VSL because they're like, oh, I don't have the money for this and that and the other. Well, first of all, in less than a year, you're not going to worry about that. AI is going to take care of it.
Jon Benson, criador do VSL, autor best-seller e fundador da BNSN. Uma IA sem prompts, que cria copies de alta conversão.
Ao todo, ele já gerou mais de $1 bilhão em vendas com os seus VSLs.
If you don't have the money to do the production thing, what I tell people to do is like...
In your thinking, Jon, what do you think are all these most important parts of the VSL? Maybe it's the lead, maybe the offer, the mechanism, I don't know. And what do you think that people can do to increase the conversion in each of these parts?
Yeah, that's a good question. Three most important parts, without a doubt. So your lead is super important, followed very closely by a combination of two things. There's ways that you can personalize an offer to make it a little bit different. Like one of the things that I used years ago that's coming back into vogue because I've been talking about it is these are things that you can do to make something you already have way more valuable in the mind of your customer and make you stand out from the competition. The need to physically write copy is rapidly deteriorating. It is going fast, and it's way faster than people realize. If you don't know the basics of copywriting, which most people don't, you are screwed. If you're just using prompts for copy, good luck. Good luck with that. That's why we still teach copywriting like you're writing it from scratch. In fact, I coined the term copy refiner. Like you're not a copywriter, you're a copy refiner. Your job now is to be a copy refiner.
Fala pessoal, sejam bem-vindos aqui a mais um episódio do podcast Segredos da Escala, que é o podcast do VTurb. Se vocês não conhecem aqui, o VTurb é uma hospedagem de vídeo 100% focado em vídeo de vendas. Hoje em dia, os maiores players do Brasil usam o VTurb nos seus vídeos de vendas, como por exemplo o G4 Educação, o Novo Mercado, a Escola do Perpétuo lá do Misha, e também fora do Brasil, tá? Como por exemplo a Mind Valley, que é a maior infoprodutora do mundo. Eles faturam mais de 1,5 bilhões, tá? De reais por ano. Então, se eles confiam no VTurb, cara, eu acho que tu deveria confiar também e fazer um teste aí do VTurb na tua operação, tá? No teu vídeo de vendas. E é por isso que eu deixei um link onde tu vai ter 15% de desconto durante 2 meses aqui nos comentários. É só clicar ali, tá? Criar tua conta no VTurb, que já vai ser aplicado automaticamente esse desconto aí na tua conta. Isso é um incentivo aí para tu conseguir testar o VTurb, aplicar no teu negócio e aumentar as vendas do teu vídeo de vendas também, assim como os maiores players do mercado brasileiro estão fazendo, beleza? E além disso, tá? Quando tu criar tua conta, eu também vou te dar um treinamento chamado Otimizando o seu vídeo de vendas, para que tu consiga aplicar o teu vídeo de vendas aí e fazer ele vender muito mais do que ele vende hoje com as aulas que a gente tem ali. Mas além de te ajudar a aumentar a tua conversão com o VTurb, a gente também tem o podcast Segredos da Escala, onde eu te ajudo a aumentar a tua conversão de outras maneiras, trazendo conteúdo aqui de convidados extremamente qualificados, para que tu consiga pegar 1, 2, às vezes 3 dicas aí, se o podcast for bom, aplicar no teu negócio e escalar ele também. Então, cara, vê o podcast aí, espero que tu goste e valeu. So, Jon Benson, first of all, thank you so much, man, for being here in the VTurb podcast. As I said, you are like a legend here in Brazil. A lot of people have used your framework to write VSLs, to make money, to, have a better life. And the first question that I have for you is actually something that I'm very, very curious about. So how was the idea process to actually create like the VSL concept? You were like, okay, maybe if I got a sales letter and put it like this, because it was something a little bit revolutionary, for marketers. So how did you thought about this?
Yeah, it's yeah, I'd love to say it was marketing genius, but it was pure luck, to be honest with you. I just released my second book in fitness called Every Other Day Diet, and my first book did really well, and because I didn't write the copy, so I wasn't a copywriter. Yeah. And so my friend Tom Venuto wrote the copy, and it just we hit like 1,000 on Alexa, which, this is the ranking of all the most popular websites. So we were in the top 1,000 websites in the entire world at the time. It was crazy, man. So, and I'd never seen anything like this, and I'd never been exposed to direct response marketing. I was just a writer and a fitness guy, and that's it, really. And so we wrote this book, Fit Over 40, and it just took off, and I just immediately shifted my career to this, even after running a company for 14 years. a different industry. And my second book, I said, okay, well, he wanted to go on his own, and so we just split amicably, and had this big massive list after this launch. This is back in the day where, I mean, one launch, I had a list of 50,000 people. So it was like
Yeah.
it just went from 0 to 50,000. It's like, and just kept growing. Kept growing. Six-figure list was in the first year, and started growing from there. So this is definitely a different time. 2004, that's when that came out. So in 2006, I released Every Other Day Diet, late 2005, and I couldn't sell it if I couldn't give it away, even with a list like that, even with this really strong list. I mean, I sold like 100 copies or something. It was ridiculously bad, and I couldn't get affiliate traffic to convert. And I'm like, man, I don't get it. Surely a sales page isn't that hard to write. I wrote books. It's like,
Yeah.
and I was like, the only copywriter I studied was the guy was Tom. I didn't. I just studied the letter he wrote and tried to kind of replicate it. And it just didn't work at all. And it was like just bombing. And so I started calling my friends in the business. And my friend Mike Geary said, hey, you know what? You should try. I saw this guy doing this. He put together a PowerPoint presentation, and it sold really well. I go, PowerPoint, like because I was like business, and I saw like a couple of like maybe half a minute of it, and it was one of those ugly, like it looked like a business PowerPoint thing where you had the bullet points and you had the green background. It wasn't a VSL. It looked like he was just basically, it was a PowerPoint presentation basically.
Yeah.
And so I thought I can't do that, man. It sucks. I got away from the business world for this reason. And so, but then I started thinking, what like, so the thought process was, triggered by what somebody told me when we were looking over the data. We were looking over the heat mapping data of the site, and they were saying, "Oh, the people are really interested in the headline. They're really interested in this, and they skim down to here and blah blah blah." And somebody said, "It'd be so cool if we could just get somebody to read every word of the page, rather than because people are reading maybe 7, 8%, right?" And I'm like, so I started thinking, I said, how could you get somebody to read every word of the page? And so at the time, later became my friend, I didn't know him at the time, but Felix wrote Rich Jerk. And this was a famous offer on ClickBank. It was really blew up, mega millions.
Yeah,
And
yeah. He's
he had
he's famous here in Brazil too. Yeah.
yeah. Okay. So yeah, Kelly is his name's Kelly, but he's just a hilarious guy. And I told him, I said, dude, you inspired the VSL. You just didn't know it because he had like 12 clicks to read the sales page. You had to click, 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 right? And so I was thinking, well, what if we did something like that? Okay. And then I started thinking, well, then they would just skim this and click that. And I'm like, well, what if so I was talking to myself. I said, what if I put every word on the slide? you know, not like that PowerPoint shit, because that's terrible, right? I'm talking about like every word on the slide, like one sentence at a time. If they read one sentence at a time, they either will bomb or whatever. And then I started thinking, well, the other thing I could do, because I was trained in NLP, I studied NLP in college, and
Yeah.
I said I could actually use advertising because I came out of advertising. Black and red was the colors, the default colors, and all of Madison Avenue was the black and red. I said, what if I did a black video, like a white background, black headline, and made and if you look back at the original VSL, every single slide was in title case. And the reason why is because I said, and I'll look back and I laugh now, but it actually worked. As I said, what if every sentence was a headline? So this was the one thing I could say that was a kind of a good idea. So I said, what if every sentence was a headline? Because everyone reads the headline. And so when my friend Dan was telling me that, I said, man, what if every sentence was a headline? It's like, well, then you wouldn't. But then he started thinking, well, I don't know, man, maybe. And so I made every sentence a headline. And then I turned certain words red the same way you do in headlines. And those words are NLP command terms usually. And I sent it out to my list, and instead of getting 6 sales, I got 60. It was, I don't remember the exact metrics, but it was like 8 or 10 times more, right? And this was
Yeah.
like maybe a 3 or 4 minute video. And I said, oh man, what if I did it longer? And so my long VSL was 16 minutes. That was the long one. That was the very first one.
Yeah.
And that launched, and a month later, we had $1 million in ad spend every month. And I
Oh my
wasn't doing
God.
it. Everybody else was. So it was crazy, man. And so next thing you know, everyone's coming out of the woodworks going, dude, can you write one for me? I go, I'm not a copywriter, man. It's like, it's not working because of what the copy I wrote. Looking back on it now, it's in people's controls. And, the second one I wrote was Truth About Abs. And I even voiced it because I did VO work in college. And so the voice was always there. Yeah, so Mike gave me 20 grand or 25 grand to write his letter, and it's still the control of the day. It's 20 years later, so it's
Oh
crazy.
my God.
But so that's basically the start of it, and then everyone came out of the woodworks from there. Like I was working with everyone from at the time. Pimsleur was unknown. They were buried underneath. Well, I mean, they were doing okay, but they were nothing compared to Rosetta Stone at the time. And the owner of the company came to me and said, "Hey, can you tweak this and voice it?" And that's what I did. So I just kind of started a business. I just decided to shift everything to becoming a VSL guy. And next thing you know, I'm a copywriter. So that's how it worked. It just, and then I figured out how to write sales pages and emails and
Got it. Got it.
yeah, at
That's
least
really
pretty well.
really interesting. And
Yeah,
did
that's
you
how
did
it started.
you have any idea that the format the VSL would get that big, that it would go to
No.
Brazil, to Romania, to all over the world? That's crazy,
No,
right?
no idea, man. No idea at all. I mean, and honestly, if it, people have told me that you should make a better story than the one that you tell because it's like but this is the
Oh,
truth.
that's
This
a
is how
good
it
story.
happened.
That's a good story. I like it.
But the one thing that is a very good marketing story is make every sentence a headline. I should have a T-shirt that says that. But that is my unique idea. And then of course I came up with the idea to do the black and everyone's VSL was black and red and then people were using red for the wrong things and I had to go. So we would use it in the right way. Like you want those red words to stand out. And people didn't know I was doing this, but now I can tell you because you might know this tactic, but I started teaching it later in my courses. Like I would bold in red certain words that over a period of 10 slides formed a sentence.
Whoa.
So
I
I got
didn't know
really
that.
crazy with this. Like over 10 sentences, it would say, you really should buy this today, or 5 slides.
That's
And
awesome.
it's like the subconscious mind would pick it up, and it was just fun. I wasn't like trying to be, nefarious or anything. I just thought it was fun,
Yeah.
and so yeah, there's all kinds of cool things you can do about it. And I was like very down on any graphics at all. It has to be ugly. People, we tried graphics, by the way. It's not like we didn't think of that. It's like, oh, we should make the whole thing. Well, it bombed. It completely bombed. It wasn't until bandwidth caught up, and we were able to do what we can do now. Craig was really the first guy to do, in my opinion, to do Craig Clemens to do
High production VSLs.
graphics really, really well.
I got it.
Yeah, Craig Clemens. Yeah, Gundry stuff.
Yeah, that's awesome. He's
Golden.
actually testing Vitra right now, Golden Hippo.
Oh,
He's
I was gonna.
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
he's
yeah.
becoming a
Hippos.
client right now. He's doing an A/B test with
I hope
Brightcore.
that you get him, man. I
I
hope you
hope
get
so.
him.
Yeah, he's a great.
Yeah,
He's a big
Craig is
client,
a.
and I
Yeah,
also want to
Craig is a.
interview him here on the podcast. Maybe I'll send him an email, see if it works
Yeah,
out.
he's a great guy. He's a great guy. I haven't talked to him in years, but
Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
But
So,
John,
but
do you
yeah,
have any idea on what has changed from like your first concept to today in 2025? Because for
yeah,
example, you just said that Craig was the first one to add like this high production value to the VSLs,
yeah, yeah,
but lots of people are adding lots of stuff to the
yeah.
VSL and like keep improving the conversion. For example, as I told you before the podcast, we at
Mm,
Twitter we can increase the VSL speed to the
mhm.
exact time that it converts more. So we have all these little
Yeah,
tricks, you know.
yeah.
Do you have
Dude, you
any
told me
idea?
that. I knew immediately I have to get to know you, man, because if you think that way, that's freaking ninja, man. That's awesome. I mean, so I'm sorry to interrupt you,
No
but
problem.
that tactic was talked about 10 years ago with me and Ryan Dice. Ryan
Oh,
called me. He goes, dude, you know what we just found out? If we speed up the video to 1.3, we get more conversions, and if we turn down the volume. So I
oh,
don't know if you can do that or not, but it's turn down the volume. And so I started recording my videos like back like this, like I'm talking back, and it's kind of, I mean, still projecting like I'm talking like right, but just to where because it makes someone lean in and turn up the volume, and they're more engaged for the video. And
ah,
so these crazy little tricks, yeah, so much has changed, and I mean, playback speed is huge, and again, you can leave it to the user's own distinct thing, but it tends to be a little faster is a little better. And I read fast, so
yeah,
that for me normally it's you don't speed it, you don't want to speed it up. It's too, but yeah. So there's tons of stuff that has changed. The biggest thing is just the quality and speed, that we get now, and so we can do a lot more things. But I think that like Agora, they really adopted the ugly VSL better than anyone else that I know of.
yeah,
And to this very day, their VSLs, some of their like survival stuff will start off with, the imagery and all that. But
yeah.
it eventually converts to slides. And I've never seen a VSL lose maybe there has been one, but where if somebody's tested image video, etc., they transition eventually to slides, and the pitch should always be in slides. I think
Got
there
it.
might be
Got it.
somebody that cracks that code, but it's so much easier to sell with slides.
Yeah, here in Brazil, actually, the biggest guys that are running the VSLs, they are doing the VSL with a very high production value. So they hire like an expert, maybe a doctor or something, and then they get like three to two people, maybe five people, I don't know, to record the VSL. So lots of people, lots of guys, lots of scenarios. I don't know if that doesn't work in the United States, but at least here in Brazil, that's kind of the state of the art when it comes to VSL conversions. People are doing a lot of money with that. And I think that the reason it works is because it increases the credibility of the VSL, because people think, oh, there's actually a person there. So you have like more proof elements, instead of just having the words. At least that's my thinking. I don't know if that's true, but what is true is that people are scaling this kind of format right now with this very high production value. And so I think some guys are doing in the United States too. Some Brazilians are running traffic in the United States, like through ClickBank, Digistore, Buy Goods, all these payment platforms.
Yeah.
But I don't know, like the majority of the guys in the United States are running. So yeah, and then I can say about that.
The thing is like, I've done a ton of writing and consulting with people that, including Craig, that do these high production VSLs, and it only works if you have the copy. So
Yeah, of
if
course.
you're missing the copy, forget it. And so you need to test it first with slides, because you don't want to dump a ton of money into it. And if it's got legs on slides, then sure, you can test that by all means. But you definitely want to test it first. And we have had a client that I worked with for about a year with doing consulting, and they had famous actors doing the stuff, and they hire out, like they do it like in a major way, right?
Yeah.
And that's all cool, like celebrities. I think they had Paul Abdul, they had Steve Harvey, they had, when I say famous, I mean famous people, not like A-list celebrities or anything.
Yeah.
And one other I can't remember her name, but a lot of famous actors and people that are, that people don't know their names. And so that works, I would imagine, lends immediate credibility to that. But that's at a normie scale. That's at a scale where you're getting a lot of the normies. The underground feel, though, the reason why Agora is $1 billion company, and they mostly do these ugly newsletters and ugly sales letters and ugly VSLs, is because there's a different psychology there. The psychology of somebody that wants to push against the system, right? So that still exists in the world. So if your copy reflects that, like if you're contrarian, or you're like, I put this together, if you don't have the money to do the production thing, what I tell people to do is, like, you're not going to see any fancy video here. You're not going to see any, because I guess, look, I'm just a guy from my kitchen that discovered this. So I'm sharing this with the world. This works. So who cares if it's fancy or not? So I actually tell people to write like that, and actually make it a benefit that their video is ugly VSL. So it gets around that concept, because no one is buying the VSL because it's pretty.
Yeah.
They're watching it because they assume that, oh, this guy, whoever's got that, they're a big company. They got it. But if you position it differently, it's no different than if you look back in the days of, I know you're Brazilian, but in the States, Madison Avenue, in the New York advertising agencies, they made a television series called Mad Men. I don't know if you've ever seen Mad Men or not, but
I only saw the first episode. It says it's toasted, and that's it.
it's fantastic. Mad Men is one of the best television shows ever made. But so definitely watch it if you can. But they talk in Mad Men about, like, did you see this full page ad that this guy David Ogilvy did? And I know the writers had to have some sort of knowledge of copywriting, because they go, who is this Ogilvy guy? Look at this. There's no graphics on here, right? But they had no idea they were about to get slaughtered. So. And obviously, you still have Madison Avenue. You still have major reach and campaigns and these visual campaigns. But you have the other guys that are spending 1/100th the money and capturing 1/10 of the percent. But so they're just killing them, right?
Yeah.
I mean, as far as just making take home money. So I think that you should try both. In other words, people are too afraid to do a VSL, because they're like, or some people are, because they're like, oh, I don't have the money for this and that and the other. Well, first of all, in less than a year, you're not going to worry about that. AI is going to take care of that. You'll be able to produce. I mean, already, Sora and other AI tools like that have proven that they can actually make stuff that looks like video, right?
Yeah, it's crazy.
So that's going to be it's going to be basically the AI will figure out what to tell from the script, but but you still need the script, you still need the words, and AI by itself, unless you know exactly how to use it, sucks at writing words. So
Yeah,
it's not
yeah,
very good at writing. Even like everybody loves Claude, and Claude can be really good if you know how to prompt it and refine it and all that stuff. But you still need to know what you're looking for, and that's the problem. It's like the most commonly asked question I get today is like, even with Benson, it's like because we know the copy's good out of Benson, but it's not going to be 100% all the time because nothing is. Humans aren't. I'm not. You're not, right? We've written. I'm sure you've written things that didn't work.
of course, lots of
Yeah,
it. Yeah,
yeah.
that's
I mean,
actually my
so
specialty.
yeah, it's like people think that you're an A-lister, and so you automatically are going to get something that works. It's like I Gary Halbert, one of the greatest copywriters in history, in my opinion,
Of course.
definitely it totally epitomized this. I mean, I never met him because he was before my time, but he he would, instead of rewriting stuff, he would write one draft of things, and if it
Mm.
bombed, he'd just tear it up. Next project.
Yeah,
Just wouldn't even waste any energy. So he had more failures. He's like the Babe Ruth of copywriting. He had way more failures than hits, but his hits were just,
yeah,
you know,
yeah, yeah. Oh,
massive. So that's
Gary's
the same
amazing.
here. So don't be afraid to test something with slides is what I'm trying to say. And don't be, and once you get that, you, man, adding the visuals, that's not that hard nowadays. There's tons of people on Upwork that can do that for you, but the scripts are very difficult.
Yeah, of course. Oh, I agree 100%. The most important part is the copy. If the copy doesn't work, people will not buy. Otherwise, you could just show them a Netflix movie or whatever, and they would buy, right? If
Yep.
it were just for the graphics.
Yep.
So yeah, and then we have like these little variables that can increase conversion. For example, if it will be slides, if it will be graphics, if the speed will be
Hmm.
1x, 1.2, 1.3, whatever.
Hmm.
And we have like two categories of that. We have the easy ones, for example, just increase speed. It's very easy to do that. And we
Hmm.
have the hard ones. And you actually mentioned that in the podcast because you said that the most important part of the VSL is the lead, which is the very first,
Hmm.
the first few minutes of the VSL. So, in your thinking, John, what do you think are all these most important parts of the VSL? Maybe it's the lead, maybe the offer, the mechanism, I don't know. And what do you think
Yeah.
that people can do to increase the conversion in each of these parts?
Yeah, that's a good question. Three most important parts without a doubt. I mean, I don't think there's much debate in the copywriting world about this. Your lead, your first 200 words, and really, if a lead's about 1,000 words usually, but your first 200 are just critical.
Yeah,
So only because you got to capture the attention. It's like a subject line in email. Like you take all these email courses, right, and they tell you how to write bodies of emails, and they kind of slack on the subject lines. It's silly because no subject line, no email. I don't, you could be the best email writer in the world, and if your subject line suck, then it doesn't
yeah,
matter.
of
No one's
course.
going to ever see it, right?
Yeah,
Same thing with the lead. If you have the best BSL in the world, you have the killer offer, you can have everything, and if your lead sucks, it's just not going to work. Like, I saw a VSL the other day. It had a killer offer. I mean, the offer was fantastic. And it starts off with, "Hi, my name is Dr. So and so, and I'm a licensed physician from the state of Florida. I'm proud of my Florida Gators." I'm like, "Oh, you've got to be fucking kidding. This will
yeah,
never work. This will never, ever, ever work." Right. And it didn't work. So it's like no one cares about your Florida Gators, or, no one cares that no one cares. So it's,
yeah,
so you have to get someone to care. So your lead is super important, followed very closely by a combination of two things. So I'm going to squeeze two things into one. Your big idea,
yeah.
is absolutely, that is what makes the lead in your entire campaign, followed by your mechanism or lead hook. So one of the two have to be in there. So usually I put lead hook and lead together. So to give you an idea, like a lead hook might be something like, "Look, there's a 10-second fix for cellulite that I've been using every morning." Okay, that's a lead hook. That's not a big idea.
Yeah.
A big idea might be like, the reason why you have cellulite has nothing to do with what the food you eat, is everything to do with X. So that's more of a big idea. Like, what's the big
Got it.
idea? Or even bigger than that is like, there's a conspiracy in the government that is wanting to make women carry cellulite. Yeah, that's stupid, but you get the idea. That's more of a big idea, right? So the big ideas in VSLs can be make or break. Okay. And I like to refer to them as like a smaller idea is the lead hook. So you have a big idea, which is the big thing. Like you're not fat because of this, you're fat because of leptin. That's more of a big idea.
Yeah.
Where the hook might be like there's this wacky, weird hormone that if you fix it, your weight loss goes. That's the hook. So I'd say the hook is just a different way of saying the big idea. It's just in my opinion. So that's a lead hook. And that can be related to what people call a unique mechanism, what we call a positive hook in Benson lingo. Like, what is the thing that makes it work? What is the secret sauce behind your offer? And the third, and I put this last. It shouldn't be last because all this is for naught if this fails. Is the offer itself. So if you have an offer that just if you're selling the same thing everyone else says for the same price, you've got a shit offer and it's never going to work. If you've got something that's less expensive and it comes with XYZ and you can actually have people do it for you, that's a killer offer, right? So you got to think about in terms of how am I going to deliver the very thing that I have. So I like to get people to think outside the box when they don't have the income to say, okay, oh, this comes with a software that we made, so it makes it easier for you. I mean, that's a good upsell too. But whatever the offer itself is, there's ways that you can personalize an offer to make it a little bit different. Like one of the things that I used years ago that's coming back into vogue because I've been talking about it is that when someone gets this, that hey, I know how busy you are. So what I did is I broke out the top 20 aspects of this book, and I'm going to email them to you 20 days in a row with a little encouragement. So you're just getting an encouragement email. I'm not selling you anything. It's just a super bonus. I broke out the top 20 things in case you don't have time to read it. So think of this as just my little note to you every day for 21 days or whatever it may be, just to encourage you to read it. So that makes the offer uniquely different right there because no one else is doing that for some reason. They're not using email. And so that's kind of a cool way to do it. And obviously we don't want to get into the technical aspects of this. Like you can send a link and send them to a blog or whatever. But these are things that you can do to make something you already have way more valuable in the mind of your customer and make you stand out from the competition.
Yeah.
So those three things. And the easiest thing by far to test is the lead. If you have an offer that's working, the only thing that I do to get an offer to work better is change the lead/lead hook. Like what's the idea going into that? Now, if I come up with some killer idea, which we've done before, we looked at things and we said, oh, you know what? This is actually more of an X than a Y. And it's completely different. It forces the VSL to be completely rewritten, but it's such a good idea that there's no way we can pass it up. That does happen. But what's a lot cheaper and a lot more common is when somebody says this VSL it used to do this and now it's doing this.
Yeah.
Well, it's lead fatigue is a term that's used in the copywriting world.
Of course.
And how do you get around lead fatigue? Well, lead fatigue doesn't just need a new lead. It needs a new lead hook. So those two things put together is what we call, well, I have a course coming out called Lead Alchemy, which is all about this. Like how do you tweak these leads to get, we can often double conversions on where people are at with just changing the lead. That's it. That's just the first 500, 600 words. And the hook that gets into that lead is super important. So, and because I'll tell you another secret that I don't think very many people talk about in VSL world, especially VSL copywriters, is one of my good friends is the top golf copywriter in the world, and he works. His agency is the best in the world at doing this, and he writes killer VSLs, absolutely killer. And he's like, man, the VSL is about 30%. The rest of it's ads to the VSL. So they'll test 800, 1,000 ad creatives at a time.
Yeah.
So it's So your VSL may be okay and your ad just sucks. The problem is that your ads, so we have ad hooks too, right? So there's different ways to hook someone into the same conversation in the ad. So if your ad hook ends up being super killer, and this is where your software could really come in handy. If the ad has this hook that says, I'm just going to make a 10-second fix for whatever, and that's the one that wins, then you need a headline that reflects, watch this for the 10-second fix. It can't be incongruent. So you need congruency through that your whole process.
Of course.
So those things are what pros look at. How congruent is everything? How much does it flow? And then, if I had to name one thing that would change the most in a VSL, it's the lead.
Yeah, of course. I agree 100%. Actually, we can even think that the ad is actually the lead of the lead, right?
Yeah.
So it's the
Yeah.
very first step on the sales message. So yeah, it makes like the job of the lead, but instead of doing that job on the VSL real estate, it does that on the traffic source on Facebook, YouTube, maybe native ads or whatever. Opa, eu sei que esse episódio aqui tá imperdível, mas só queria te falar que se tu quer aprender mais sobre criativos, então tu precisa conhecer a aula do Diogo Kobata, que ele deu lá na comunidade do VTurb. O Kobata, ele é uma das maiores referências nesse assunto e passou várias técnicas lá bem interessantes para tu conseguir criar bons criativos aí na tua operação. Uma delas, por exemplo, é a estratégia da árvore dos criativos, que as pessoas estão dizendo que é bem interessante. Isso porque com ela tu consegue criar centenas de criativos de um jeito super simples, super rápido e o melhor de tudo, sem saturar muito a tua oferta. Então, se tu já é cliente do VTurb, é só acessar esse material que tá ali na Academy. E se tu não é, vai aparecer um QR Code aí na tela que tu pode escanear. E aí, com esse QR Code, tu vai virar cliente do VTurb, tu vai ter 14 dias de teste grátis e vai poder assistir essa aula imediatamente, tá? Então, é só fazer isso daí pra tu já conseguir assistir a aula do Kobata e começar a criar esses criativos, beleza? Então, escaneia o QR Code aí e de volta pro podcast. So, when you talk about the lead, you say that you have like the big idea, which in my view is like what the VSL talks about. It will talk about a conspiracy, talk about this, talk about that, like the main thing about the VSL. And then you say that you have this lead hook, which if I'm wrong, please correct me, okay? But from what I understood, the lead hook is the reason why people will just start watching your VSL for that specific reason, right? For this, like this motive, this reason.
Right.
And then you say that you need to change the lead hook when the lead fatigues, because that's where you get the most performance. Of course, you also need to change the ads, but people, they already saw you talking about it, so they probably do it. But when we talk about the lead hook, if we change the lead hook, sometimes you say that if the lead hook changes enough, it will actually change the whole VSL, right? Because if you say, hey, today I'm going to talk to you about leptin or whatever, or, this concept, this thing, and and then the middle part of the VSL can change too. How do you see how do you prioritize choosing these lead hooks when it comes to a fixed product? Because if you have a health product, and for example, if you have a product about collagen, there is just so many hit hooks that you can create, right? Because you have like this product which is collagen, and then you just have so many ways to actually sell it.
Yeah.
In that case,
well,
you would recommend people just like find another product if it's just stop selling, or how do you change these lead hooks to keep selling that one product?
Okay, so I this is the analogy I always use for this. Okay, you see the guitars behind me, right? Well, so I was a professional musician for 10 years, and those are basses, not guitars. But
oh my God, John, you have done everything.
I have done
Bodybuilding, copywriting, guitar.
Yep. I'm very much into like pushing the limits of everything.
Awesome.
But so yeah, I got to tour with bands and opened for David Bowie once, and that was very cool.
Whoa.
Yeah, it was fun.
That's awesome.
Yeah, a band in Dallas I played in, but there's only 12 notes, right?
Yeah.
And yeah, so if you count the notes, right? So 12, and you can debate the octave on that, but let's just say 12 because it's a nice round figure. And we're not getting into atonal music or anything like that, but in traditional Western music as well, and everything that you've heard in your entire life, every single thing that you've heard is a combination of those 12 notes. Is music going to run out anytime soon?
Probably not. Yeah. Probably not. Yeah.
Never.
Yeah.
Ever. I mean, it doesn't, and that's with 12. Okay. So how many words are there?
Yeah.
So when you talk about like, there's only so many ways to talk about collagen, until somebody comes up with a new way to talk about collagen, which always happens. It just always seems to be that there's some new way of talking about it. And that is the lead hook. That is, in some cases, it's the big idea. Most of the time, it's the lead hook. So what we did with Benson, because I wanted Benson to be like strictly an A-list level copywriting AI. That it has a misspelling of my name on it on purpose, but it does have my name in it, right? So I had to have it sound somewhat like me. But we needed a way to create lead hooks super fast. And so what we would do is we we created this thing in Benson called the lead hook generator and the lead generator. So we'd go into lead hook generator and just say, go crazy. Just create 20 different ideas for how to approach this particular VSL. And just some of the ideas it would come up with. There's no way in hell I can tell you from writing, I don't know, hundreds of VSLs. There's no way in hell I would have come up with half of them. I didn't see it. I couldn't think, and let alone to come up with it in 15 seconds. There's just no way. It's like an unfair advantage
Yeah.
of having this. So, and some of them, you wouldn't like, and then some of them were just like, oh my God, this is just that's killer, man. We never even thought about that.
Yeah.
So AI, when it's done right, not ChatGPT per se, but when an AI is done right, you can come up with so many different lead hook ideas, and then see how like our AI is very well trained. Blend that into the lead, so automatically, boom, you have a different lead. The other thing you can do with a lead, and I love this. Again, I'm not trying to talk about the software a lot, but it's just that happens to be that I do this with software. Is we teach this in lead alchemy, that take a lead that currently exists, and we have a tool called Stylizer in Benson. And what it does, it says, okay, go find the style that you want to emulate and stick your lead in here or whatever it is, and stick your lead in here, and then stick the style that you like. And it doesn't mimic it. It actually figures out from the style, well, how are they processing this? What is the nature of the style? What's the rhythm? What's the pattern? How are they saying their goals? Everything. And so what I tell people to do is go out and find the number one VSL in the world, but not in your space. Just find a top VSL. Just find, it doesn't matter what space it's in.
Yeah.
And then go find one of the top 10 in your space. So you create, boom, you got 3 leads. You got your original lead, you got your restylized lead with the number one VSL, and like, let's say it's Alex Hermosi, or something. I don't know. I don't know if Alex, do you do VS? I don't think he does, but
Probably
he
not,
obviously
yeah.
could. Yeah. I
Yeah,
don't.
maybe
I
it's
don't.
Craig or maybe Mind Valley. I don't know who's the top advertiser right
My
now.
mouth. Take something that Mind Valley wrote, Vision. Well, not Vision, but Vision Steam wrote. But or whatever. And so Vision, who's a genius marketer, by the way, but and a nice guy. His writers, and I know several of them, they're killer. I mean, Peter Kell was one of them, just killer writer, right?
Yeah,
But he has a style that's very distinct. His styles can be way different than Frank Kern.
of course.
But if you took his style and then Frank Kern's style, because his style for that's why I like going with a different approach. Why is it? So think about it psychologically. People are thinking, well, this is a weight loss offer. I'm just using weight loss as an example. Why would I go to Mind Valley, which is more like woo-woo in psychology?
Yeah,
Well, if it's woo-woo psychology and spirituality, but it's working.
yeah,
It's working to millions of dollars. So what if something in there could work for over here? What if something that Donnie French wrote for golf could work for this AI offer? What if the styles could work? Not the language, obviously, but the styles. So that's a quick way to get a lead redone instantly. Well, instantly is when I say instantly, within seconds. That just requires a little bit of homework on your part, and that's where the human element comes into AI. So the AI will eventually get to the point where it can scrape live. Well, we can scrape live now, but where it can go out and find the number one VSL in the world, and they could figure that out.
yeah.
Like it will get to that point. Well, we're not
Of
there
course, yeah.
yet. Okay, we're not there quite yet. And there's a lot of technical reasons why. But if you are following your craft, if you are interested in becoming the best marketer you can be, then you know what offers are working and what isn't working.
Yeah,
So, by the way, and I'm not saying about, like, for example, I grabbed Adam Steer's offer Adam is a friend of mine. He rewrote an offer for Brad Pylon, the guy that wrote Eat Stop Eat like 20 years ago. And I need to reach out to Adam because I don't know. I actually used it in a video that I just did and said, okay, I think Adam just wrote a letter in his affiliate. I'm not sure. I haven't even checked the affiliate links because you could just click the link and see. I just didn't do it. And whatever he did, it's working because it's the number one weight loss book on ClickBank right now. So,
yeah.
and so I took his style and applied it to a golf letter. Well, why wouldn't that work? It's not like golfers are not humans. So whatever's working in this human psychology area, it may be something weird. It may be something like that you can't that you as a golf copywriter would never have thought of
Of
as
course.
Adam as a weight loss copywriter.
Yeah.
So that's where I'm coming from, and that's where we thought through it with the team here at Benson to where how can we get the best results possible? So we've had insane results from people doing this. I just had a guy say, I just used Benson to rewrite a lead for something and use Stylizer, and it beat the control by 40%. So, well,
Awesome.
there's a reason why he did that, right? It's not like he isn't a great copywriter. It's that he doesn't write in that style. So I don't write like David Deutsch, or I love David, but I don't write like him. And he doesn't write like me. So it'd be a really good thing if he could write like me momentarily, and maybe a supplement offer for anti-aging or whatever. And I've never written one. So, so that kind of thing is, I'm just giving you guys hints. Now, granted, to do this effectively, you need a tool. You need Benson, to be honest with you. You've got like, you can do this in Claude, like if you upload the letter you want to stylize and upload your letter, and I know the differences. The thing that frustrates me is I'll see the differences. And I'm like, oh, like
you have some limits also when it comes to tokens, so you'll probably not be able to do everything.
Yeah, there's that. Claude's really, really picky about tokens. OpenAI, much less so. I think they're going to get less so with DeepSeek coming out. That's it's basically going to get run for the money.
Probably.
But you don't have those issues with Benson, and you don't have Benson talking back to you. Claude loves to be woke, I don't feel comfortable writing a weight loss offer. Go fuck yourself, man. I've literally told that no, multiple times. I don't feel comfortable. People should accept their bodies the way they are. I could just see the obese blue-haired feminists behind this. It's like, in charge of the.
John, let me ask you something. Do you think that we can use Benson to, for example, we can input maybe some old copy, maybe something from Gary Halbert, Gary Benson, I don't know, from these guys, and maybe ask him to get this idea, like the actual idea, and then just write in another way to the VSL format?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. That's what we use Stylizer for. So you can also do it like not to get technical here, but when you write a VSL, we ask you for a focus and style. Like if you want to focus on something for the lead, just type it in. We're promptless, so there's no prompts there. If you have a style that you like, you can use up to 500 words in actually creating a VSL. So you could use like 500 words of I think it's a 500, might be 1,000, but that Gary Halbert, for example, you could use that and say match this style, and it will do a really good job of that. Then we have a tool called Stylizer, where that's specific to stylizing something. So one thing I like to do is get a lead that I like. So just let Benson write its own. I could say, this lead is this is killer. I like what the things that it's covering, right? Get a lead hook, generate a big idea. I always ask people to do that first. Okay, get something you like, let it write around it, then pull that into Stylizer and go, okay, now stylize it with Gary Halbert. And you can put a whole Gary, you can put 5,000 words, I think, in there. So so there's different ways you can skin the cat here.
Yeah, but that's Opa, desculpa interromper o teu episódio aqui rapidinho. Eu só queria te pedir, tá? Se tu quiser me ajudar aqui no podcast, que é pra tu pegar e se inscrever aqui no canal. Isso é 100% de graça, tá? Obviamente não paga nada pra fazer isso. Eu tô te pedindo isso porque eu vi que 57,8% de vocês aí que estão em casa assistem o podcast, mas infelizmente não se inscrevem no canal. E aí, cara, se tu não se inscreve, o canal não cresce, o YouTube não entrega isso aqui pra mais pessoas, e a gente não consegue atrair mais convidados aqui pro podcast pra criar um conteúdo legal pra ti. Então, cara, se tu quer me ajudar, por favor, clica aqui embaixo, tá? Em se inscrever, e vamos tentar diminuir esse valor aí, vamos tentar chegar nos 50%, colocar essa meta, pra gente poder crescer o canal aqui do VTurb e aí trazer mais conteúdo pra ti, pra que tu possa ganhar ainda mais dinheiro, beleza? Então, de volta pro episódio. How do you think that people should add these AI tools to their companies, to their processes? So for example, when someone is writing their own VSL, it makes completely sense that they're just going to use it. If there's like one person business, but for example, here in Brazil, we have people that have 100 employees with a copy chief and then lots of copywriters beneath them. So do you think that maybe like the young copywriters, they should still use the AI, or it's more probable that they will just mess it up and then they just should write something, they just give the AI to the copy to the copy chief, so they So we use the AI to make it better, or how do you see these AI tools into the copywriting process of a real company, a big company?
All right. Okay. So let me use another analogy if I can.
Of course.
Let's say that uh, when I grew up, my dad taught me how to change a tire. I mean,
Yeah.
yeah, what happens when you get a flat? So I had like numerous flats driving the way I drive. And so I like it, pull over, okay, crap, flat tire, change the tire. I had to do it sometimes when it's cold and raining, it sucked, right?
Yeah.
So you're changing a tire, whatever. I never wanted to be a mechanic. I used to race motocross, and so I had a team to
You also
do
used
all
to
the
race motocross, man. Oh my God.
yeah, dude. I'm like, yeah. You got to understand.
You
I've lived
really
longer
did
than you
everything.
have, so you can
That's
do a whole lot in
awesome.
your life if you space it out. Yeah, I have proof of all this, by the way. So my knees are proof of the motocross, but yeah. So but I couldn't like I could change spark plugs and stuff like that. I couldn't do jack with the bike. I never wanted to learn anything about the engine. I just wanted to ride the damn thing. You guys do the engine, I do the riding. Let's just keep it that way, right? And that's so I was kind of the same way with the cars, but I knew how to change a tire. Makes sense that you know how to change a tire. And so then AAA comes along. And it's not like you go, well, now I don't need to, I should never learn to change a tire. Well, the physical skills necessary to figure out, like, okay, the strength or whatever to jack the car up, to get the bolts off, be able to kind of do something with your hands. That stuff is still super important today, right? Right now. But now with okay, AAA, Uber, soon to be within a year, robots. It's
Yeah.
like, hey, I got tired. There's, within 10 years, cars will change their own tires. There'll be zero need to do this, right? But the fundamental need underneath it of getting to work with your hands and understanding the value of doing that should never go away. So I liken that to copy. It's the need to physically write copy is rapidly deteriorating. It is going fast, and it's way faster than people realize. We're going to have upgrades to Benson coming out soon that will just freak you out. I mean, it's like it's there. It's things are getting better, and we're kind of helping lead the way and getting better, right?
Yeah.
So right now, we tell everyone very simply, use this as a tool like you would use any tool in a tool belt. This just happens to be the hammer. Okay, it's the tool that you're going to use the most. If you're a carpenter, you're going to use a hammer more than anything. So probably. But
Yeah.
so this is the hammer. Okay, this is the tool or the drill, if you will. And then Claude and these kind of things, they're great. They're great refining tools. They're great for doing other things like books and stuff like that. Although we got a good book builder. But you got to understand how the tools function. But if you're looking at this, and here's the problem. Let's say that you know nothing about working with your hands, nothing at all, and you call AAA or Uber or whatever, and or you call somebody and they fix the flat, but they do a really crappy job. You have no idea.
Yeah.
Like, how would you possibly know if you have
Yeah.
no knowledge at all about this? You wouldn't possibly know. So it certainly pays you to know copy, and copy is way, way more important than changing a tire. I mean, as far as like,
I
because
agree.
changing
Yeah.
a tire, there's only so many ways you can screw that up. I mean, you can leave the
Yeah.
bolts off. You might, but if you don't know the bolts are supposed to go on there, you are screwed, right? You are completely screwed. So that's kind of that way. If you don't know that a lead should contain some NLP, or a lead should contain a hook, or the lead shouldn't be about you, if you don't know the basics of copywriting, which most people don't, you are screwed. AI, especially if you're using chat or something like that, it's going to write. If you're trying to prompt it to get you, if you're just using prompts for copy, good luck. They're good luck with that. But
Yeah.
that will change eventually, where it will get better and better and better. There are just AIs like ours that do nothing but that. So they're never going to be as good as that, because when you, like you guys, you do, when you said like that's all we do. We do VSL hosting, and we help VSLs. Period. That's all we do. That's exactly how you. I know the guy that Jason that started Basecamp, and he used to be a FileMaker coder back in the day,
Oh.
and I knew him back when I owned the design advertising thing, and we'd talk on the phone occasionally. But he said, "Hey, I'm going to move to the internet," and this was in 1997,
Oh.
1998. I'm like, "Internet, dude." why? It's like, yeah, this is, you gotta understand, this was like before the internet was the thing. He goes,
Yeah.
man, everything's moving the internet. I go, really? How's that even work? Because I mean, I did. A year later, I'm like telling everybody, dude, it's like in 1998. I'm going, if you're not on the internet, you're just stupid. I'm telling people they're going to be buying their groceries from the internet. Because once I learned what he was talking about, I was like, oh God, I totally see it. And people would laugh at me. We'd put like email addresses on business cards,
Yeah.
and our customers would say, can you just take that off? No one will ever use it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Website addresses, no one will.
That's crazy. That's
Yeah,
crazy.
and then it's so funny. They'd say, "Oh, you have to put HTTP colon double forwards." It's back in the caveman days, right? So this is the same thing. So now no one questions having a URL. In fact, people will have a business card with nothing but the URL of the
Yeah,
website.
exactly.
So it's gone completely full circle. But if you don't understand the psychology of a business card design, you're screwed.
Yeah.
It's the same thing. If you don't get the psychology, so if you don't get the psychology of copy, you're screwed. That's why we still teach copywriting like it was like you're writing it from scratch. But I teach it from in fact, I coined the term copy refiner. Like you're not a copywriter, you're a copy refiner.
Copy
Your
refine.
job now is to be a copy refiner. So
Yeah, makes
in other
sense.
words,
Yeah.
take the AI, take your human copy, and like do what we do. We optimize copy for conversions. So that's what I teach. How do you optimize AI or written human copy for conversions? Same thing. That's going to be that will be a career for the next 2 years maybe, and then after that, AI is gonna lap that. But if you still need to understand if you need to be able to look at it and be able to tell. So that's how I think that people should implement it. They should have to look at it. They should have to be able to look at things and see if it works or not. They should be able to tell if it's going to work or not. That's the long-winded way of saying that. So
Got
use
it.
these tools judiciously, but learn the stuff. You just don't have to learn how to do it by hand.
Got it. Got it. All right, John. So thank you so much for being here today. This was actually the last question that I asked you. And for those at home that are listening us, if you're in Brazil, if you're in the United States or whatever, you should check out benson.ai. It's bnsn.ai. It will appear here on the screen, and it will also be on the description, so you can just go there and click it. It will be easier than just typing in your computer or whatever. You can do whatever you want. Just make sure you go there, check it out, and then that's it, John. And man, thank you so much. And you actually you have no idea how much of a fan I am of you. And yeah,
Oh,
I mean, this thing here, Vitor, my company, only exists because you had this crazy idea like, hey, let's make every word a headline, every phrase a headline. What if that would happen? So that's kind of crazy how these things can compound over time. So you had that idea. You had no idea that maybe like some years after that, a crazy Brazilian guy would create a software. So thank you for that. My life changed because of you, and lots of Brazilians that are watching this too, who make VSLs almost every month to make money to have a better life. So thanks for that. And
you, man.
that's it, man. And I wish you a happy life. Okay.
Thank you so much. It's great
All right.
talking to you.
All right. Thank you. And guys, this was another episode of Vitor Podcast, and I see you on the next one. Cara, muito obrigado aí por ter assistido aqui mais um episódio de Segredos da Escala. Se tu gostou do episódio, não se esquece, tá? De curtir aqui esse episódio, de se inscrever no canal do VTurb pra tu receber aí mais episódios aí na tua caixa de entrada. Isso é muito importante pra gente, e se tu fizer isso, eu te garanto, tá? Que eu vou trazer os melhores convidados aqui pra passar conteúdo pra ti, beleza? E se tu tá procurando aí mais episódios aí pra assistir, cara, eu vou deixar 2 episódios aqui, tá? Em algum lugar aqui da tela aqui, dos Segredos da Escala pra tu ver. Então clica ali, vê eles, tá? Assiste também, vale a pena. Grande abraço e até mais.